go across then to the mecca of all the action today, the RBI headquarters, and Supriya Srini is waiting by to get us a detailed analysis on what to expect from the day today. And Supriya, firstly, the expectations from this policy. Should one assume that it's going to be a status quo from Raghuram Rajan?
It really looks like, because I mean, look at inflation levels. The CPI, that's the inflation that he's really targeting, is at 5.7%, and that's very close to the upward range of inflation targeting that the government has also agreed on now. So 4% plus minus 2% and inflation at 5.7%. I don't think the government is going to relent with a rate cut as his parting shot. So inflation levels very high. I don't think that's happening. The other big thing is I think the markets will definitely be watching out for what quantum of a policy rate cut can they expect all of this fiscal, because the elbow room has been substantially squeezed. The pay panel recommendations have been are being implemented, and of course GST that has been passed, and everybody believes that GST is going to be inflationary in nature. So what is the commentary that is going to come from the RBI? The consensus view is that one should not expect more than a 25 basis points rate cut all through this fiscal year. The question really is, even will that 25 basis points be possible or not, given the two things that I just spoke about. One, of course, is the pay panel recommendations that have been implemented, and the second is the GST. But I think for all practical purpose, the street should and does believe that today Governor Rajan is going to maintain status quo.
So Priya, on out of every credit policy we tend to get excited, but today I guess the excitement is all about the fact that this is Raghuram Rajan's last policy, and surely he's going to be missed. I mean, what a man he's been, and what he's done for RBI and for the monetary policy is quite incredible, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There is no denying that at all, Nikunj. I think the focus will squarely be on Governor Rajan, especially the way his innings is ending. His 3-year stint, he's perhaps the most celebrated governor on the street, but also perhaps the one who's quoted a lot of controversy. So it's been a phenomenal streak as far as his own stint at the RBI is concerned. Look at inflation levels. He took over when inflation was at 9.8%. It went down to 5%. So, and it's of course inched up because of vegetable prices in the last few quarters. So look at inflation, it's halved. The rupee, the taper tantrums took the rupee down to 68.84. It's been fairly stable. Even through the Brexit, our currency was a remarkably stable currency. So the rupee listens to Rajan is the word on the street. Look at his own regime and how he has changed the RBI. There is no more focusing on the WPI. The focus is really on retail inflation, CPI. And the fact that the government buys into his argument and listens to him is testimony to the fact that they've notified 4% plus minus 2% as the inflation target. CAD, the current account deficit, was a huge cause of concern in the second quarter of fiscal year 13 when Rajan had taken over in September of that year. That number is down to 1.1%. In fact, it could be lower than 1%. $365 billion of forex reserves, the rupee remarkably stable. I think it's been a phenomenal innings. The biggest contribution perhaps though that I think he's made to the Indian economy is not just having inflation, but starting the cleanup act in banks. And I think that was very, very important. Cracks were visible when he came in. He took his time to assess. He changed it to the AAQR, the Asset Quality Review of RBI, and the Cleanup Act, much to the discomfort of some really big corporates, much to the discomfort of crony capitalists, but he did begin the Cleanup Act, and I hope that his successor will take it to its logical end.
Just one final question. I know you have a busy morning. Who is likely to succeed Governor Rajan?
I'm not going to stick my neck out on that one, because I did once previously and Raghuram Rajan called it a googly, and he did announce that he's going to return. But there are 4 big names that are doing the rounds, and I think the successor will be one of these 4. Subir Gokarn, Shaktikanta Das, Arvind Subramanian and Urjit Patel. Arvind Subramanian is perhaps the most low-ranking candidate, because I think the government would want him as far as the passage of the GST and all of that is concerned. Also, they would not want someone who doesn't understand the Indian system as well as they would want to. They believe that the experiment with Rajan didn't work out well because he didn't understand the system. So they will go perhaps for somebody who's tried and tested, and which is why the ball kind of favors Subir Gokarn and Shaktikanta Das and Urjit Patel. But of course, Arvind Subramanian is a celebrated economist in his own right, and he is in the reckoning. My own sense is that the government will settle for a man who understands the RBI, who understands the Indian system, and will finally make a choice from the 4 names that I just rattled before you. I think it's a matter of time when they do it. We expect the announcement to come somewhere close to the middle of August. They would want a 15-20 day overlap between the new governor and the old, but the vote will squarely be cast in favor of somebody who has experience at the RBI and who understands the system.
Yeah, we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. What about a 5th? Supriya, we are only limiting the choice to... No, we are only limiting the choice to 4. You know, the surprise could be another 5th name.
No, I don't think there's going to be a springing surprise that will come its way. I think the 4 names that are doing the rounds, the take a call is this one. But remember, the decision will be only one man's. It will be the Prime Minister's decision. The Finance Minister will be consulted, but the decision will be Prime Minister Modi's. I think these 4 names are in the reckoning, and the successor will be picked out from one of these 4.